Hey everyone, my name's Kras. For those of you who do know me, hello again. For those of you who don't, I've been playing 14 since somewhere in 2.0 and have spent a slightly unreasonable amount of hours on the game. So, I'd like to preface this video with a disclaimer. This is more of a reaction video with a bit of research put into it than a deep dive analysis of any of the jobs. I will also only be talking about changes to existing jobs, as I'm saving my main dive into Pictomancer and Viper stuff for the leveling process, because I like to get a hands-on feel for the jobs before forming an opinion on them. I will be going through all the jobs currently available in Endwalker and major changes to their kit, but that will be separate videos. This particular video will cover the healers, as you may have already told from the title. Then I'll do a DPS one. I'll do the DPS roles separately and then the tanks. Anyway, now that we have that out of the way, I'll start talking about White Mage. White Mage's core mechanics remain pretty much the same, but it does get a couple new toys to play with, and obviously, like every job, it gets potency upgrades on its base damaging tools. But it does get an extra charge of Tetra. That's always a welcome sight. Medica 2 upgrading to Medica 3, for the most part, just new effects, it seems, but it does give it a slightly stronger regen. I do appreciate that it's like a new move and not just like a potency trade upgrade. It just feels like there's a little bit of effort put into that. And I do quite like its level 100 upgrade to a skill called Divine Caress. I don't know how to feel about it being specifically attached to Temperance, but a 400 potency shield with a regen that's actually stronger than Medica, 3, I suppose now. It does make me hope a little that fights will dish a bit more damage now. Another neat change, I think, that White Mage gets, and do forgive me for a little tankism here, is its little inner release window on Presence of Mind with the 3 Glare Force that they can use. Now, the thing I left for last, because the one I'm most excited about, is their new level 40 ability. Nothing that they actually get in the leveling process itself for the expansion. Ethereal Shift, which is a 15 Yalm forward dash, kind of like on Avant, which is incredible to me. I'm glad that it's not just like they didn't just take Icarus or Ethereal Manipulation or whatever, because those are functionally the same skill, right? And just toss it onto White Mage. They actually gave it something slightly different. And I'm always a fan of the positioning abilities that take you a fixed distance forward. That's probably because I started the game as Dragoon, and Elusive Jump is just my favorite ability that they have. But I'm really happy that White Mage got something like that and not just a dash to a party member. But there is one thing I would like to say. After looking at every single tooltip and every single new ability, really happy with the changes. However, how did Free Cure survive another expansion? I would just like to know that. Anyway, let's move on to... As far as their new tools are concerned, I'm a big fan of Chain being 20 seconds right at the gate. Fan of the AoE follow-up they're getting. It's a pretty cool thing to get in dungeons. It does make me wish for more than one enemy in raids, though. Sakura gets this little upgrade to Consultation, I believe it was. Just like Medica 2, it gets a slightly bigger secondary things like its shield. It does bring its shielding mass to the same percentage of healing as Adlo, which is pretty cool because you can kind of get... just having it be the same number is pretty good to me because, like, yeah, you put up a shield, it's this percent of what you just healed, right? So you kind of know exactly how much you shielded for, because the game still doesn't really tell you that. Like, you get the thing on the health bar, but you don't know exactly your shield numbers unless you go through the log or the, but like you don't get the immediate floating text. So I appreciate the math being slightly more direct, right? I think a lower cooldown in Recitation is really strong. Losing 30 seconds on that when it was already 90 is great because it's one of my favorite scholar tools, and it just is a really big power spike. Like recited recited Excog, recited Adlock. They're such strong abilities, right? So having that more often feels a bit excessive, actually, to me, with the current state of the game. And their capstone skill feels a little bit weird to me. I'll have to like use it to find out how much I actually like it. I like the Angel Ascension motif, but I do wish it was like more of a Fae thing, because they've been given the angelic stuff to White Mage, so it's a little weird. But I guess we do have someone Seraph. It's weird, right? It's a weird aesthetic to pick. Where like if it was a fairy transformation, I'd feel like that was more scholarly than an angel. But they have been sort of moving towards that with Seraph and stuff. So I don't know. But it's a 20-second regen with pretty good potency, right? It's a bit stronger than Whispering Dawn, and it's not pet potency, so it's actually going to be a lot stronger. But I think the temporary upgrades to Adlo and Consultation, with the fact that you have emergency tactics on 1 second, is a lot of raw healing, and is like, why can this not be stacked with Dissipation? They do functionally the same thing. They buff your healing. It feels like maybe this should have just been an upgrade to Dissipation, right? Just make it so that Dissipation at this level doesn't take away your fairy, makes you stronger. Uh, you know, still could have given you the Aether Flow, but then you'd be stacking a ridiculous button, because this is a 3-minute button. Man, though having this strong of a button just feels a little bit excessive, as I said, for White Mage as well, right? And for Recitation, current damage profiles in this game don't feel like they necessitate this kind of action. But I hope to give us a good reason to use it. But it's a big button, right? You may not like the aesthetics of it, but the actual usage of it is really, really strong. Hell, you could stack up some massive shields during a downtime phase if you really wanted to, right? Please, Mr. Yoshida, please make things hurt more. It'd be great. I do think, actually, the most important thing, even with all the potency changes to its base damage skills, Art of War is still a gain on 2. So we're good there, right? And now let's move on to Sage. Right, this one will be a bit shorter because Sage is still a very new job, so they're not giving it like that many things. And I also like all of Sage's kit, so there's not much for me to add. But right out the gate, cooldown code on Soteria, pretty neat. Love Soteria, love having a stronger Cardia proc. So that's a neat and simple one, right? I'm also a huge fan of having a second dot to manage. Eucrasian Discrasia sounds like an incredible button to get. I miss having Arrow 3. Welcome back. Some people are saying Miasma 2. Probably it is instant. I'm more of an Arrow 3 guy, because Miasma 2 was never that strong. Psych also feels like a good addition. It's just a boom, big nuke once a minute. Great. Gives Sages a bit more in the damage department. They're kind of the like most burst rotation-y healer anyway, with like Phlegma and that. I do enjoy that a lot. Now there is one little thing I noticed, and it's that well, Dosis got its potency upgrade, Numa did not. I hope that gets fixed in time for the expansion. I hope someone brought that up, because it was really cool that they were the same potency for damage wise, so you didn't have to lose damage. And I do really hope that they keep that going forward, because I know they fixed it for Afflatus. I will be looking at Astrologian next, so we'll see about that one. But it would really suck if Numa wasn't equal potency to Dosis anymore, just because you would be losing that little bit of damage. But I guess they did give them Psych to make up for that, right? Anyway, an upgrade to their AoE shield is a welcome addition. You know, it's just a little bit more mitigation. Sage is a shield healer after all, and its capstone skill is a neat piece of utility. And I don't 100% like the fact it only works on spells, not your abilities. I do like that it's not just an AoE cardia, but kind of like a plenary thing, right? Where it also works off of heals, unless the tooltip I'm looking at is wrong. But it does open up some new options for sages, especially if you're like spamming out shields and you need a little bit of raw healing. That is pretty cool. Now, I will mourn the loss of Discretia being again on 2. That is, I believe, a little bit of an oversight. So, unfortunately, may it rest in peace. Right, I believe that's everything Sage got. So, let's talk about Astrologian. Right, so before I get into the cards, I'd like to quickly get through the other additions out of the way first. 20-second buff of Divination, fair enough. Potency upgrades on Malefic, Combust, par for the course, everybody gets those. Gravity does go from a gain on 2 to gain on 3, just like on Sage's Discretia. And, expected Helios getting turned into Helios Conjunction. I was, from that name, expecting it to also give a shield now, but that's kind of for Nocturnal Sect. But does make sense. But it's, the same kind of potency attachment to, improvement as White Mage got from Medica 2. So, that makes sense. I think attaching a mitigation buff to Neutral Sect, which is already stacked as hell, is incredibly funny. But what is also incredibly funny is a third charge of Essential Dignity. I find that hilarious, and what do you even need that for? So I think Oracle as a button, a nice bit of additional burst. Forcing it on Divination means you just don't have to pay attention to it. But that's just what they're doing. This expansion, they're attaching some buttons to your buff thing, so you don't have to pay attention to 2 cooldowns. You just manage the 1. You can roll with it, right? Now, all right. I guess that's everything that they're getting added besides cards. I am more of a fan of the new effects than the current ones. I think all 6 different major arcana being different flavors of just roll 1 and 2 does more damage, while roll 3 and 4 do slightly less but still more damage. It's just really boring. And I think Astrodyne was just the forced solution to make it not be as boring as it actually was. I do think the original system, which was the one in like Heavensward and Stormblood and stuff, that was also heavily flawed because you just wanted to roll AoE balance and everything else sucked for your damage output. And let's be honest, damage is the most important thing in this game. You have to just have just enough mitigation, but the more damage you have, the better. And the amount of randomness there was really annoying to try and optimize with. I'm sure it was fun in like a casual scenario, right? But if you were trying to like really push stuff, it was really unhealthy for the game, especially with the pre-drawing before pulls. But I mean, that's just an old design decision, right? They fixed that pretty much across the board now. I think this is a nice middle ground. I think that having 2 damage up cards instead of 6, it makes them feel a bit more distinct, because they still get that, this is for the melee and the tanks, this is for the healers and the casters. I think that's nice. The forcing of them is kind of weird, but we'll just have to get used to that one. And the fact that you pull all 4 at once is scary. And the fact that you need 4 play buttons now, which, I mean, they're taking away redraw, so that's 1 button you can use, and you already have 1 play button, so that's 2, right? And then, I believe you can use the space where you had Astrodyne for the other play, because they're also getting rid of Astrodyne, so your number of buttons doesn't really change there. But I do like the new card effects. New old card effects. Arrow is a healing up now, which I will miss it being haste, but hey, it's different, right? it's a nice thing to toss onto, say, your shield healer when you need to shield, or onto yourself, or sometimes maybe onto a paladin because it might affect their self heals. I think Spire is a pretty big shield, and that's pretty nice. You know, just having that available pre-opener, you just toss that onto someone, maybe on the tanks, their first auto hits them less or something, right? Because that starts on the first set, right? And then you get the ball, right? Love my friend the ball. I'm glad he's back. Ewer's weird to me, because I associate that card with mana. But it makes sense because nobody like wants you to mess with their mana bar. Most classes don't even use mana anymore. Back then, like everybody besides the melee did. But yeah, it's nice that they all do different things now. I personally find it a bit more interesting than just here's a damage up, here's another damage up, and here's another damage up, and how you have to collect your lucky charms to get mana regen. It was just weird, right? Minor Arcana still does the same thing. It's just, you know, you use one, you use the other, you use one, you use the other. It makes complete sense, right? I don't know if the RNG needed to be taken away from Minor Arcana. I think it was very funny if you got a run that was just all ladies, or all lords, right? It was very, very funny how those could sometimes end up. But I do like the new card system overall. I think it's an alright change. I've never been the biggest fan of Astrologian because of the RNG stuff. I think I also never really enjoyed its healing kit until like now. I always felt like it was missing like one or two heals. And then Walker added like those two little buttons, so like that was exactly perfect for me. I do, however, I feel weird about Sinistry. I know there's some use cases for it. It's just it just does not seem like something that people use a lot because GCD healing isn't exactly that popular. But I guess Nocturnal Make forces you to GCD, so you might as well use it then at the same time, right? It's kind of one of those things where I'm like, oh, Energy Drain feels like an old button. Free Cure feels like a bad trait. It's one of those things, but it's not like a deal breaker. It's a good thing to have. It's a unique thing that Astro has, right? So I hope they keep it. I just wish it affected other things as well than just spells, right? Like maybe it copied Essential Dignity or something. Like, in fact, actually, it copying Essential Dignity I think would be exactly just the right thing for it. I've waffled on about Astro for quite a bit, but they did have a big change, so there is that. Now, overall, for all the healers, I think getting a couple extra damaging tools and really strong healing buttons, it's alright. I mean, the extra healing seems at this moment unnecessary, but we don't know what the raids are going to be like. It felt in Endwalker that damage didn't go up that much, but it kind of did. They started pumping out, all those all those AoEs with dots, all the tank busters with dots, all the multi-stacks all the time, right? And it only didn't feel that bad because they gave us a bunch of tools that already that were supposed to deal with those things, right? They gave us a tool and they were like, okay, this will cover this use case, and they started throwing that use case into like every fight multiple times. Which is why it didn't feel like the difficulty went up a bit, but the amount of damage did, right? At least it felt like it. So I have a feeling that maybe we'll get some bigger damage numbers going in, or like more frequent incoming damage, just to necessitate having those extra skills. Because it would kind of suck if they made an already kind of easy thing to do in most of the game even easier, right? Let's be honest here, it's not that hard to play this game at any level besides like extreme and up. And even then, the difficulty of healing extremes is usually from the other players. Obviously, Savage will have some heal and mid checks, and Ultimates obviously are built for healing and mid checks, especially stuff like DSR, right? DSR is just a full on. If you do your mitigation right, you can do the fight. Like, that's the entry step. So hopefully we'll have more things that hurt us more, in even in casual content, just so that healers have more stuff to do. I think damage needs to be a bit more interesting for them, but I don't think they're in as bad of a state as a lot of people are saying. I do believe that the game in general is too easy at times, and I think that should be brought up because we're like 11 years in at this point. We can have a little bit of difficulty back, right? Please, Mr. Yoshi P. Just a little bit. I know he agrees. He said we need more stress in there. Well, one can hope. Right. If you've made this far, thank you. I'm not exactly sure why I started with healers. They're actually straight up my display role. But I just kind of wanted to do this. It was originally going to all be one video. But I realized that that's a lot of work, so I'm splitting them up into something that is manageable, because you may be able to tell I don't really do those often. In fact, at all. This is kind of the first one that I've ever made. So if you've made it this far, thank you. I actually really appreciate you listening through. If you did, and I know there wasn't exactly anything special or any big analysis in here. It's just kind of me going through things, but I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, I'll be going through the ranged, I'll be going through then probably the melee, then the casters. I'll skip Viper and Picto for another time, maybe after the expansion if things go well. If things are not too busy, but I'll definitely get back to them once I've leveled them. That said, I really, really, really appreciate it. So, I hope I'll see you again, and please look forward to more of this, hopefully. Bye. Hey, real quick, post-editing Crass here. This has taken a massive toll on my computer, and you may notice that halfway through, or not even halfway through, like a third in, or 25% in, I stopped doing transitions and effects. That's because I could hear my fan trying to spin out of the socket on the CPU. I was running at 100% constantly. So the melee ranged, the DPS videos, probably less editing. In fact, I might just do like an actual just straight up React thing and record that. But I had a lot of fun making this. Unfortunately, I did have to, just for the sake of having my PC survive until the actual launch of the expansion. I cannot put I cannot be as meticulous with my future recordings. Maybe shorter videos would be okay, but like around the 6-minute mark here, it started getting really hot in my room whenever I would open the recording, the editing software. Anyway, I just remembered that if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, tell me what you thought, and huge thanks to the Gamer Escape 14 crew that went to the media tour. All the tooltip images that I got was from their website. I'll drop a link to that in the description as well. If you want to head over there and give them a click, give them some love, please do that. Always been a fan of their work, so Really, really happy to have been able to use this. I hope they don't mind this. And actually, the white background images, those are from Square Enix's official press kit. Well, as you may be able to tell, the transparency is killing me, but I don't have Photoshop. And I don't know how to chroma key things out in my editing software yet, so please bear with me. Anyway, thank you once again, and I'll see you around.